I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I could say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows. So every time he say it didn't happen, or that's the only thing that makes this become an issue to everybody. I was acting. Who gets shot 5 times in acts? Oh, I didn't get shot 5 times in their vision. I only got shot once because they found the book. The police found it, but now they the cops. Now they doing detective work.
I hate when they leave me to talk because I always say the wrong thing. I was like, last time they left me, I said something about Keffe. You saw that? You saw that clip? Yeah! I gotta stop doing that kind of shit. I've been talking to a therapist to try to help me with the shit I'm saying. I said crazy shit. No reason. Oh wait, maybe I said it to my boyfriend because he got Tupac killed.
Nearly 30 years after Tupac Shakur was shot dead on a Las Vegas strip, a courtroom is finally about to put someone on trial for it. And the name coming up over and over again isn't who most people expected. On August 6, 2026, the official Tupac murder trial was announced to begin that month, and it brought a wave of new names into the spotlight. The court confirmed that a judge had ruled an old police interview from suspect Dwayne Keffe D. Davis would be admissible as evidence at trial, specifically his recorded reaction to Tupac's death. In that interview, Keffe D kept it pretty raw. "I just hate what happened, dog. I really do, man. 'Cause a lot of people's lives, you know, that was wrong, man. It was just purely wrong. I wish it never happened."
Tupac was a shining example of everything that Diddy wanted to be, and he was that naturally. He was charismatic, he was sought after, desired, he was very well liked and a naturally likable person. He was charming, he actually had intrinsic talent, he was a star. He was what Diddy tried to force his way into becoming. Diddy, through force, through manipulation, through fear-mongering, tried to become loved and adored and liked, but all he could manage is like a twisted clone of that he was able to garner through fear. But back to my original point, he thought he triumphed over Tupac by when actually what he did was make Tupac immortal. And by Diddy continuing to live and earn more wealth and in his mind earn more adoration, he thought he triumphed. He thought he won overall.
That clip alone stirred up a lot of reaction online. But the moment that really set the internet on fire came from 50 Cent at a live concert. He walked out, grabbed the mic, and said what a lot of people were already thinking. "I hate when they leave me to talk because I always say the wrong thing. Last time you met me, I said something about this right there. Maybe I said my boyfriend because he got Tupac killed." The crowd lost it. And 50 wasn't wrong to stir the pot, because the man currently behind bars for this case, Keffe D, told police straight up that everything was done on Diddy's orders and that the full truth would come out at trial. Keffe D had been quietly labeled one of the most notorious unsolved cases in American history for decades. Las Vegas Metro Police had his name in their sights for years. Then in 2023, prosecutors finally made their move and charged him with ordering the hit on Tupac. He's been breaking his silence from behind bars ever since, telling ABC News that authorities have the wrong man. But here's where the new legal filings get really interesting. Diddy's name appears 77 times in the court documents. Not once or twice as a footnote, but 77 times. That means everyone connected to this case, whether through street knowledge or direct involvement, has pointed in his direction. Inside those never-before-seen filings, a name shows up that ties Tupac and Diddy together in a way most people didn't know about. A woman named Sarah Chapman. Both men dated her, and according to the documents, that relationship became the spark that ignited everything between them. That's where this whole story really starts, and it only gets messier from here. On November 18, 1995, Tupac was photographed alongside Sarah Chapman, who happened to be Diddy's baby mama. At that point, Tupac and Sarah were actually in a relationship.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we not even gonna even go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Diddy had always talked about Sarah like she was his dream girl, so when she started dating Tupac, he was furious. That jealousy reportedly led to Diddy's first attempt at getting Tupac handled. The situation got buried quickly, though, with investigators only looking into it for a single day. Tupac himself spoke on it in a recorded interview saying, "I believe so. I do believe so. I have proof, things that I can say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows. So every time he say it didn't happen, that's the only thing that made this become an issue to everybody. I was acting. Who gets shot 5 times and acts? Oh, I didn't get 5 times in their vision. I only got once because they found the book. The police found them, but now the cops, now they doing detective work." That clip got a strong reaction from 50 Cent, who posted that it wasn't over. He confirmed more unreleased Diddy footage is coming to YouTube, including clips that didn't make it into his Netflix documentary. Some of that footage reportedly covers how Diddy started a whole family with Tupac's ex, Sarah Chapman. In 2006, Diddy had a daughter named Chance with Sarah, the same woman who famously dated Tupac back in 1995. The picture that's forming here is that Diddy didn't just dislike Tupac, he wanted to be Tupac. People who knew both men described Tupac as someone who was naturally charismatic, naturally gifted, genuinely loved by people without even trying. He had real talent, real star power. Everything Diddy spent years trying to manufacture, Tupac just was. Diddy, by contrast, used manipulation, fear, and control to get people to fall in line. He built something, sure, but it was more like a twisted version of what he was chasing. And the darkest part? By allegedly going after Tupac, he didn't win. He made Tupac immortal. Diddy kept living, kept making money, and told himself he came out on top, but Tupac's name only grew bigger with time. Investigators believe that after his first attempt failed, Diddy allegedly tried again. An evidence file reportedly states that a former LAPD cop claimed Diddy paid $1 million to have Tupac killed. Suge Knight then allegedly retaliated by having Biggie dealt with. The man hired to carry out the crime, Keffe D, eventually began exposing what he knew through multiple interviews with DJ Vlad. He backed all of that up with a never-before-heard police interrogation, one where he flat out confessed that Diddy was the one calling the shots. The detective walked him through 4 locations: San Diego, Anaheim, Irvine, and Vegas, asking which ones he actually spoke to Puffy at. His answer? Every single one. When pressed on which of those 4 spots involved a conversation about Tupac, he didn't hesitate.
Yeah, I hate that happened, dog. You know, I really do, man. Cause it took a lot of people's lives, dude. Hate that happen. Probably to God. I feel that was wrong, man. It was just wrong, purely wrong. You know what I'm saying? I wish it had never happened. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion on it. It never happened, dude.
It was really about both of them. Either one of them. It was Tupac. Tupac and Suge. That one answer cracked the whole case wide open. Here's where the Tupac story gets a lot more complicated, because there are 2 other major names tied to his death that almost nobody's talking about. But to really understand who they are, you have to go back to the night it all happened, because new details have come out that change everything. September 7th, 1996. Tupac Shakur was in Las Vegas alongside Suge Knight, the head of Death Row Records. The two had 0 security with them that night, and they headed to the MGM Grand to catch the Mike Tyson fight. After the match wrapped up, things took a turn fast. On their way out through the lobby, they ran straight into an op. New details revealed that whoever was waiting for them in that lobby didn't just show up by chance. They were planted there by someone whose name still hasn't been made public. Also inside the arena that night were Keffe D and his nephew, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, along with 2 of their boys. Keffe D later sat down with LAPD Detective Greg Kading in a proffer session, one that couldn't legally be used against him, and told him exactly what went down. It was payback, plain and simple. Surveillance cameras caught the whole thing. Tupac had been furious at Lane for stealing a necklace from him years earlier back in Compton. And the moment he spotted him, he jumped him right there on the casino floor. Tupac, Suge, and their crew bounced out of there quickly after security stepped in and broke it up. With the fight squashed for the moment, Tupac and Suge headed back to their hotel to change clothes, while the other crew rushed out of the arena and took off down the street on foot. Then around 11 p.m., the two got into a black BMW and pulled onto the Las Vegas Strip. Windows down, music blasting. Tupac was standing out of the window doing his thing, drawing attention from everyone on the sidewalk. One witness described him as acting wild that night. They hit a red light. A white vehicle crept up on the right side, and right there in the middle of the strip, shots rang out. Members of Keffe D's crew, including Orlando, already knew Tupac was heading to his concert at Club 662. They jumped into their white Cadillac and started riding the strip, hunting for him. It didn't take long before they spotted his caravan. At the corner of East Flamingo Boulevard and Koval Lane, a white Cadillac pulled up alongside Suge Knight's black BMW, with Suge behind the wheel and Tupac riding passenger. Shots rang out from the Cadillac. 2 rounds hit Tupac in the chest, 1 caught his arm, and 1 struck his thigh. The case went ice cold for over 25 years after that night. Then a guy named Keffe D started doing interviews with DJ Vlad, and suddenly people were paying attention again. Nobody had been talking about this case for more than 2 decades. Keffe D's first interview had him breaking down exactly how it all went down, walking through the moments right before the shooting with no filter. In his own words, Bubble Up was driving, and Baby Lane and Freaky were in the back seat. We was just all in the car together. That was the white Cadillac. As they moved through the streets, they heard girls screaming, "Tupac, Tupac!" He had his body hanging out the window like he was riding in a parade. That moment caught the attention of police, but investigators held off on moving in on Keffe D right away. They wanted to see if he'd keep talking, and he did. In later interviews, Keffe D revealed why the shooting happened so fast. Tupac started reaching for his own weapon, and the men in Keffe D's car saw it and moved first. This was a detail law enforcement had never even had before.
I believe behind all of this is Puffy. You've said this yourself, with $1 million, whether it was $1 million, whether it was $500,000. Tell us a little bit about that.
What I believe happened with Puffy was
Keffe D laid it out plainly when he said that as they pulled up on the BMW, Tupac reached, and it looked like he was going for his gun. Someone in the car beat him to it. That interview spread everywhere once it hit social media. Investigators started digging. They came across a writer named Jeff Earlman, who penned the official Tupac biography, and Earlman had a very different picture of who Tupac actually was. He claimed Tupac was playing a character more than anything else, saying he couldn't fight and he didn't know how to use a firearm. That claim lines up with why Tupac may have been too slow on that night. As Earlman put it, he died because all these guys sold him this lifestyle idea. But he wasn't it. He couldn't fight. He had no athleticism. He didn't know how to shoot. He wasn't that guy, but he started to believe it. It's a brutal thing to say, but it's the kind of detail that reframes everything about that night. Keffe D didn't just make claims, he backed them up. After the internet called him a liar, he dropped something nobody saw coming, a police interrogation recording from the actual night of the shooting. That one move flipped the whole conversation upside down. If he was there, why did the cops let him walk? In the recording, a detective named Lane is asking him what he saw. Keffe D describes the moment Suge looked over, spotted someone, and then Tupac was trying to either climb out of the back seat or get out of the way. He saw Orlando, also known as Cross Dre, leaning over toward the window right as the shots went off. Now that the case is being reinvestigated, police have pulled up some interesting evidence, and a big chunk of it keeps circling back to Diddy. But Diddy wasn't the only name showing up. Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg were also tied to this, though Snoop's role was a completely different kind of involvement, and we'll get into that shortly. Here's something that's easy to overlook. Tupac's contract with Death Row was almost finished when he was killed. Suge did not want him leaving because he was taking a massive cut of Tupac's earnings, and losing Tupac would have cost him everything. Even Tupac's biological father spoke on it. He said that if he had been a better father, Tupac would still be here today, because he never would have put his trust in someone like Suge Knight. But without that paternal bond, Tupac looked up to Suge like a father figure. Then a year and 8 months after Tupac's death, the truth came out. He said, Suge stole all of his money. That's the final betrayal. Investigators laid it out clearly. Tupac was reportedly just 2 songs away from finishing his contract and becoming a free agent. When you sign to a label, you're locked in until you deliver what the deal requires, whether that's albums, singles, or shows. Tupac never got to cross that finish line. Because he died before completing it, every royalty from his music went straight to Suge Knight. And that detail alone makes Suge's name hard to ignore in these new files. According to investigators, it comes up a lot. Police flagged it from the start. Suge Knight built his entire career around security, so why did Tupac have none on the night he was killed? Suge himself addressed it, saying he knows exactly who he's dealing with and what had just gone down. He said, if it were up to him, he would have shut his artist down completely and moved him somewhere nobody could touch him. But then the trail leads somewhere unexpected. The detective investigating both Diddy and Suge stumbled onto something strange. His notes read, Detective Russell Poole suspected that Suge Knight arranged Tupac's passing before he could leave the label, then framed rival Crips to throw investigators off, which brought up a bigger name tied to all of it. That name was Snoop Dogg. Investigators kept finding odd details pointing his way. In one interview pulled from the files, Snoop admits he was originally supposed to be riding in that BMW with Tupac the night it happened. He was asked point blank whether he gave Tupac different advice about where to go that night, and he said no, that they weren't even seeing eye to eye at that point. When they got to Vegas, they split up and went their separate ways. And that's exactly the thing. Snoop not getting into that car that night is exactly the kind of detail that works perfectly for whoever wanted to frame someone else. There's also another layer to this. Snoop, Tupac, and Suge had already had a falling out before the shooting even happened. Snoop explained that the last time he and Tupac were on good terms was around the time he did an interview with Angie Martinez. She asked him how he felt about Puffy and Biggie, and he told her he liked their music and wanted to work with them. Tupac heard that and didn't take it well at all. That comment created a real rift between them.
Well, it turns out when I talked to Tupac's longtime mentor, political mentor, former Black Panther Chokwe Lumumba, who was his first business manager, he's told me, I basically asked, well, was Tupac only pretending to be in order to appeal to gangs and politicize them? And he said yes. And that was part of his thug life agenda they came up with his imprisoned stepfather, Mutulu Shakur. And so Tupac was just using that in order to get the and the leaders to call peace truces, first in Los Angeles, then throughout California, and then throughout the country. And that was why he was pretending to be this type. And really, he was just an intellectual prodigy.
By the time they were on the flight back to LA, Snoop said he didn't feel comfortable around Tupac and Suge after what had happened. He didn't let his security ride with him and said that to protect himself from anything going wrong, he slept under a blanket with a knife and a fork right there next to him just in case. Nothing happened that night, but the tension was clearly real. The framing of Snoop Dogg worked so well that one viral reaction said it all. Is anyone going to mention how Snoop Dogg could have stopped Tupac from passing? These new files that are coming out is upsetting knowing Tupac should still be alive. At that point in the story, Snoop was painted as a man who was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. But some people go further than that. There's speculation that Snoop, who was deeply connected to the streets back then, may have gotten word that Tupac was going to be targeted that night. And that's exactly why he wasn't in that car. Then came another layer. An interview surfaced where Snoop opened up about how things felt between him and Tupac just days before the shooting. He said it plainly. I say a week before he died, we was best of friends. 2 days before I don't think he liked me. Why? Because we was in New York. Yeah, and it happened. New York, they shot at me and did all kind of things to me. Like just the worst you could think of. And I forgave him and went and did an interview and was asked, how do I feel about Puffy and Big? And I was like, I want to do some music with him. And I just rubbed him the wrong way, like they tried to get at you and you talking about you want to do a song with them. I wasn't thinking about his emotions. I was thinking about the way I felt at the time. I wasn't into no controversy. I liked their music. They was our friends. We was all friends at one point. There was video footage of all of us hanging out. That's a heavy admission. And it adds another complicated angle to an already messy situation. But one of the wildest theories to come out of all of this doesn't involve beef at all. One investigator actually believes Tupac was an industry plant the whole time, placed specifically to cool down the tension between the red and blue street teams, because that rivalry was reaching a dangerous point right around his death. When that investigator spoke to Tupac's longtime political mentor, former Black Panther Choki Lumumba, who also served as his first business manager, Lumumba confirmed it. He said Tupac was, in fact, pretending to be that street figure in order to connect with gang leaders and push them toward peace, starting in Los Angeles, then spreading through California, and eventually across the country. That was the whole plan, developed alongside his imprisoned stepfather, Mutula Shakur. The thug image wasn't the real him. Underneath all of it, Lumumba called him an intellectual prodigy. That's the part that really makes you think. The man the world saw and the man he actually was might have been two completely different people, and we may never know the full truth. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. See you in the next one.